Hello, my friends. My name is Rebecca Gilad, and today we're introducing a new program here at Village Television. The name of the program is Did You Know? The goal of the program is to share with you some of the history, the facts, and the culture of how our beloved country, the U.S., has gained and in part also prospered because of these gifts that immigrants bring to our country. Every single immigrant has a different story to tell. Where did they come from? Why did they leave their country of origin? Were they fleeing? Was it an economic reason or what? What happened? But instead of bringing you the personal stories of the immigrants who happen to be your neighbors, we want to share with you what they brought, the gifts that they continue to bring to make all our lives better, much better. They make our lives more comfortable, and for sure they make our lives tastier. Every 2 months, we will bring to you a different story of a different country, and you will be surprised by the knowledge and understanding. Today, you will learn about India and what have been the many contributions of Indian and Indian Americans to our country. And I bet that at the end of the program, you will say, "Oh, I didn't know that." It is now my real pleasure and honor to welcome and introduce you to our friends, Ms. Sunita Saxena, Dr. Ramesh Joshi, and Ms. Krishna Murthy. Namaste.
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 So let's start with you, Ramesh. Please, could you tell us what is the origin of the name of your country, India?
Thank you, Dr. Gilad. Sure. In 4th century BC, Megasthenes, the ambassador to emperor in India, came and he wrote 4 books on India, and he named them Indica. Why he did it? Possibly because in the Greek language, Sindh is written as Ind, and that Ind became Indica, and in English it became India. But later on, Chinese travelers came, and they called it the same Sindh, they called it Yang, so they call it Ying. Then Arabs and the Persians, they call the country again Sindh. The east of it, they call it Hindustan, and the river as Hind. And the people living, they call them Hindu. So that is how the names became. Now, our real name is Bharat. As per our scriptures, the Vedic time which were written, they were the Ramayana and Mahabharata. And in those scriptures, about 5,000 years ago, they wrote in Sanskrit, the mother of all Indo-European languages. And it is described as to how our country is named.
So tell us, Ramesh, what have been some of India's contributions to science?
According to historical records, Indians developed the decimal system and the numerals as we use today, and the digit 0. 0 did not exist in any of the other numerals. Today's computers could not have been developed without the value of 0, because it's always 0, 1, 0, 1. In 14th century, mathematicians in India, they were able to find differential calculus, the infinite series, and those infinite series are used in higher mathematics and the computation of various things. There were about 30 universities in India in the olden days. One of them was Taxila, which was about 1,000 years before Christ. Another one was Nalanda, which was 427 of the current era. And the Nalanda had 800 had the accommodation for 850 students, and it was by competition that you could be admitted there. And what they taught there was science, math, logic, language, medicine, and architecture. And temples in temples of India, and are really the example of architecture and engineering which is really marvelous. Astronomy, about 1,000 years ago, Indian ambassadors, Indian astronomers were able to determine that the earth is round and it is tilted at a 23 degrees axis, or at its axis, and it takes 365 plus days to go around the sun. This was so long ago. Even now, Jaipur and other cities have had observatories which have been used in the past, and they are still available for astronomers and astrologers to determine the eclipse of the sun and moon, etc. Not only that, in the area of metallurgy, Indians were able to devise how to produce iron and steel. That steel was called Woods steel, and it was very famous all over the world to make weapons.
Please share with us, Ramesh, what are the origins of so many religions and diversity in India?
And dharma means the duty of all humans to live with honesty, non-violence, patience and compassion. That is what dharma or religion means in India. At 3 different stages, religion was modified, or reformers thought that there needs to be some improvement, and they came up with Jainism, Buddhism and Sikhism. And the best part of it is all these 3 religions, they never ever in the olden times fought amongst themselves. They never used violence to spread the religion. In 3 BCE, that's before Christ, Asoka, one of the emperors, he converted to Buddhism, but he installed lots of rock pillars on which it was written, always respect everybody's religion and live in peace. Besides, it's amazing that Islam and Christianity came to India much before it went to Europe. I don't think too many people know in the West that Apostle Thomas is buried in India. He went there to proselytize. And some of the intellectuals, they converted to Christianity. They called themselves Brahmin Christians. Then, if you look into again the Islam, the second mosque in the world was built in southern India in 7th century current era. This was the 2nd century. And it is the Indian way, live and let live. Also, India has been lucky with addition to the tapestry of diversity in many ways, which will now be described by Sunita Ben.
Sunita, thank you very much, Ramesh. Sunita, could you please expand a little bit about how diverse your country is in so many ways? Please tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure, I would love to do that. Modern India stands as one of the most diverse countries in the world, a subcontinent which is home to more than 100 languages, 700 tribes, and all major religions. Each one of the 29 states and 7 union territories have their own unique traditions, festivals, music, dance forms, food, and a lot more. So it's not surprising, Rebecca, that India is one of the most multilingual countries in the world.
Wow.
The Constitution of India recognizes 23 official languages. Hindi is the official language of the government, and English is considered as a subsidiary official language. Many Indians speak Hindi, but there are many common languages that are spoken in the country. For example, each state has its own regional language, and you can witness that diversity right here.
How?
Krishna, Dr. Joshi and I are all from different states, and we speak different languages. And it's not just different language. Each major language has its own script.
Amazing.
And these scripts are different from one another. For instance, I'm from the eastern part of India. I cannot read the script of the South Indian languages.
Really?
Which I'm assuming Krishna can, because she is from one of the southern states.
So I know about the festival in Diwali, but are there any other festivals that are popular and that you would like to share with us, please?
I definitely would. You are right. Diwali is one of the most important festivals of India. Homes are lit up with clay lights and electric lights also. Burning firecrackers and exchanging gifts and sweets are common rituals. Another very popular festival is Holi, which is that vibrant festival of colors. Navratri spans over 9 nights, and on the 10th day, Indians celebrate the Shera, which marks the victory of good over evil.
Yeah.
And you know, Rebecca, that India is a secular state and therefore accords religious freedom to members of every religious communities. That really creates a strong bond of humanity. Eid al-Fitr is passionately celebrated by Muslims all over the country. This marks the end of the month-long dawn to dusk fasting of Ramadan. Similarly, Christmas is celebrated with great zeal and zest, not only by Christians, but by other religious communities too.
Oh, good, good. You know, I'm fascinated by your attires. You look so beautiful and they are so gorgeous. Could you please tell us a little bit about how and what it means and how you do it? They're so rich and beautiful.
First of all, let me thank you for all the wonderful compliments.
Well deserved.
Thank you. Women's attire is closely identified with the sari, which is what I'm wearing. This is a 6-yard long silk fabric,
wow,
but it can also be cotton, chiffon, georgette, and what have you. The length of this fabric can go up to 9 yards. And you'll be surprised that sari drapes can be different in different states.
Really? Wow.
What Krishna is wearing, it's beautiful. That's another very popular attire. You can see the long tunic, which is called the kurta or kameez. Worn over could be baggy trousers or kind of more tight pants called the shalwar or chudidar. And of course, accompanied by that exotic long scarf which she has over her shoulders. Isn't it beautiful?
Yes, it is.
Well, men also wear kurtas, the long shirt. And on special occasions, men wear sherwani, which is a long coat buttoned from the collar down to the knees.
Oh, yeah.
A smaller version of that is called the Nehru jacket, named after the first Indian Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. And this Nehru jacket was primarily marketed to Westerners. And guess who made this Nehru jacket famous? The Beatles.
Oh, that's true.
And also some villains in James Bond movies have worn Nehru jackets. And you can see Dr. Joshi wearing a Nehru jacket over his long kurta. And you're probably curious about this dot on my forehead. This is called the bindi. Traditionally, it was worn by married women. But now it's become more cosmetic. And even, you know, women and girls match the color of their bindi with their attire.
Oh, that's so interesting. But we cannot finish talking if you don't talk to us about the Indian cuisine, which is now so popular in the United States. Tell me, is there diversity like there is in your culture, religion, etc., also in food?
Absolutely. You know, just keeping to the diversity in every aspect of our Indian life, food is also very diverse. Each state has its own speciality. And Indian cuisine, as you know, is rich in curries and spices. There's turmeric, which is an anti-inflammatory spice. We use ginger, coriander, cumin, hot peppers, and etc., etc. Indians are vegetarians, many Indians, and the non-vegetarian dishes that are very popular are chicken tikka masala, samosas right there, garlic naan, and you know, people just love these items. Also, we have a wide array of breads, and Indians mostly use their fingers to eat, but sometimes bread is used as an utensil. And as you rightly said, Indian cuisine has become very popular in the West, particularly in the last decade. My non-Indian friends, they love Indian food and visit Nina's British and Indian grocery every so often.
Good for them. You're making me hungry.
I know. I think, oh, I forgot the desserts.
Oh yes,
we have
let's
a
talk
big
about desserts.
spread of desserts like gulab jamun, what you have right there. Then there's rashmalai, and you know, Rebecca, I have to stop here because my mouth is watering.
Okay, so let's move on and let's talk a little bit about the famous technology from India into the United States and from the United States to India. So Krishna, please, can you share with us the very good story about MIT in the USA and how it shaped the computer history in India?
You know, Rebecca, if we had said 75 years ago that India would be doing all the high-tech work for the American companies, you would not believe it, right? But then, you know, what brought India into this favorable position? So MIT, the connection between MIT and IIT, that is what we are going to talk about that brought us here. So this connection, first, okay, let me tell you what the IIT is. It's the Indian Institute of Technology, and originally there were 5 of them in India, and they are considered to be the elite schools within India. This connection with MIT, it started, you know, in the colonial times. In the late 1800s, students were going to London to study economics and law and things like that, and then the professors would say, you know, you're Indians, you should be really going to MIT and becoming entrepreneurs. And then other than them, there were other visionaries too who had this unusual foresight, and they said the same thing, you know. So it's kind of prophetic, isn't it? Then in 1947, India got independence. And of course, Mr. Nehru was our first prime minister. He was, really into science and technology, very progressive. And to get the best of those subjects within India, he started this commission, which was called the Sarkar Commission, and that was led by Mr. Sarkar. And then there were 2 students in that panel that said, who had just returned from MIT and they had PhD degrees, and they said, if you want India to succeed and excel, then you have to build these universities and technology centers based on MIT. And so that's how these the 5 IITs started. Kharagpur was the first one in 1950, and within 10 years we had the next one in Bombay, then in Madras, then in Kanpur, and one in Delhi. All supported by different countries, but the Kanpur is the one that was supported by the United States.
So tell me, Krishna, how did these Indian Institutes of Technology achieve world-class excellence, producing so much talent?
You know, again, it's a lot of help from MIT, because in those days, the MIT curriculum was being followed in these 5 universities. And then also, Kanpur in those days had a runway right within the campus, and planes were coming from United States and bringing all the lab equipment for the physics and the computer science departments. And India was able to get, in those days, the IBM 1620s. 3 professors initially came into India, and they saw that this is a vast project, and they said, let's invite 10 other universities, and 9 of the 10 agreed, and they were all elite universities who sent their best faculty from places like Carnegie Mellon, Case Western, Caltech, Berkeley, and all these elite schools. So that's how this KIAP project started, which is the Kanpur Indo-American project. And they say this project is a significant success story in the history of higher education studies between US and India. But unfortunately, in the 1970s, the relations between US and India started deteriorating, and this program came to a sudden halt, you know. But by then, US had already left a big footprint in Kanpur. So based on that, you know, the Indians were able to move up these universities or technology institutions to higher levels of excellence. Today, there are 23 such IITs within India, and they're producing great, outstanding graduates. But unfortunately, many of them, they're going away to different countries, particularly to US, only for better job opportunities. So yes, there is brain drain. And just think of all the ripple effects our national development, you know, would have achieved had these graduates stayed back in India. Yeah. Then in 1968, the first outsourcing company was formed called the TCS, which stands for Tata Consultancy Services. And Tata, this company is something to boast about, and rightfully so, because 35% of its employees are women. And they're all into high-tech and executive positions. And the other company doing outsourcing is, of course, Infosys, which was started by Narayan Murthy. Now, within US, there's tons of graduates from IIT, but one shining star, and he's the captain of his own ship, and he's Mr. Sundar Pichai, who is the CEO of Google. And so, Rebecca, it's really not far-fetched to say that, you know, that prophecy that was made 75 years ago, that has come true.
You're completely right. This has been so interesting and so informative, and now I want to invite you to play a game with me. And the name of the game is Did You Know? Welcome back, my friends, and now get ready to play with us. Did you know? For example, did you know that Indians in the United States are between 3 and 4 million people? Did you know that that means 1% of the total population, and that they make 6% of all the total immigrant population to our country? They are also among the most educated and wealthiest of the groups in the United States, and professionally, there are many, many engineers, scientists, and doctors. Did you also know that the numeral system came from India? And pay attention, specifically the 0 is very important for all of us who use computers today. Of course, you know, yoga comes from India. And I have to tell you, did you know that Nobel Prize winners from 1913 to 2019 have been given to 9 Indian people who have won Nobel Prizes in literature, medicine, physics, economics, chemistry, and of course, Peace Prize. There are many Indian people who have won the #1 best book sellers, including the daughter of our Dr. Ramesh Joshi himself. In spelling bee and in the National Geographic bee, the great majority of first place winners are the children, boys and girls of Indians in the United States. And of course, in movies, 20 Indian movies in the past 60 years have won the highest awards in cinema. Did you know, for example, that crystallized sugar comes from India? I bet you didn't know that the USB cord comes from India. Do you play chess? Well, thank the Indian population. And for you ladies, does your hair smell terrific? Well, shampoo was invented in India, and it smells that good because of the fragrances that were first used in India. How about, do you do Ayurveda medicine? Well, it came from India. And a lot of the board games, including chess, come from India. And for us people who have gone through or need cataract surgery, guess where it came from? India. So let's talk about today. In our days, let me tell you, did you know that the CEOs from Google, Microsoft, Adobe, IBM, Twitter, NetApp, MasterCard, DBS Bank, Novartis, Diageo, SanDisk, Harman, Micron, Palo Alto Networks, and Reckitt Benckiser CEOs come from
India.
Okay, that's not all. Did I say IBM? I think I did. Britain's Chancellor is an
Indian.
Britain's Home Secretary is an
Indian.
And Ireland's last Prime Minister was an
Indian.
But let's not forget, last but not least, our own USA Vice President is an Indian woman. All right. So my friends, we come now to the end of our program. I hope you learned something new. Only when we get to know each other and where we came from, which really means what influences who we are, we can understand how each other feels and thinks. And only together, all of us can make the world what we want it to be, a world of peace. I'll see you again very soon. Namaste,
Namaste.
my friends.
Namaste.